That's a
We'll
try.
send it when we need to get in and out.
All right, I'd like to go ahead and call the Tuesday, February 19th, 2019 Warrenton Board of Alderman meeting into session. If you would, please rise. Say the pledge of allegiance with us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item on the agenda would be the resignation of Ward 1 Alderman Greg Costello, effective March 1st, 2019. I believe we all got the letter on that. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Ward 1 Alderman Greg Costello, effective March 1st, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Alderman Shell Harvey, seconded by Alderman Ock. Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Next will be the consent agenda item.
We have the regular meeting minutes from February 5th, 2019.
Any questions on that? I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz. I'll go ahead and give that one to Deloy. Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Next, with one absent. Next is hearing from the public. If you'd like to step up to the podium, please state your name. We'll give you 5 minutes to speak on any topic you wish to bring up. Not see anybody, we'll move on. Next will be the Board of Alderman comments. All right.
I will make one.
Sure.
One quick note. I have heard from several, I know we talked about it once before, members of the board here mentioned it, but I have also heard from about a half a dozen different people out in the public complimenting our city crew on the way they did the snow removal this year. So it's not just coming from us, we're hearing it from the public to our residents and everything. So just wanted to pass that along. So
And I believe the reason he did that is so you still do that tonight too, please.
Paving the way.
He's speaking good things over you. Although I hear there's one that thinks nothing's coming. Well, I'll keep mine short. Just in fact, I'll skip mine and say that I hope we get home safely tonight. So next is discussion topic, ordinance prohibiting texting while driving. Alderman Sharvey, you want to kick that off?
yeah, this is something that I think is becoming a nuisance factor and a safety factor in the city. Just in the last 2 days, I've seen instances where intersections where you have a left turn yield on green and people just drove right on through, right in front of the oncoming traffic, and they're sitting there talking on their phones, and I think they're totally unaware. And I don't know if it's been I don't know how you can attribute some of the accidents to that, but the lack of attention that people have while they're driving anymore is just getting so totally out of hand. Been next to people at the stoplight that are sitting there with their iPad and the steering wheel texting away. You know, we've got, this is not just here in Warrenton, but you're hearing about it all over the country. And I don't know if the state, they talked about bringing up something about it at the state level, but I think this is one place we need to be proactive. And I don't know if I haven't really talked to the chief of police about it, but he may have some comments on it too. I don't know, or the rest of you may have. But I think it's something we need to look into, and I would like to have our attorney look into some other ordinances and see what some of the other municipalities are doing with this, because I think it is. It's getting to be a nuisance and a safety issue with texting and talking while driving, or on the phone while driving. Put the phone down and drive. Driving's a full-time job anymore. It demands our attention, full-time attention, I think. That's my comments on it, so I don't know if anybody's got anything to add.
Well, is your concern talking on the phone or texting while driving? Which one is it?
It's both.
It's both. But the conversation in the agenda was primarily texting, correct?
Started out that way, but like I say, I'm seeing more of I think, being on the phone, just, not just here, but all over. You're hearing different things about it. So,
I think some of the things that were brought up on the state level was requiring a hands-free device. If you were going to be able to be talking on the phone, one that kept both hands on the steering wheel, or at least able to accommodate some type of safety.
Well, here's the question, I guess, for counsel and the chief. I mean, I would assume if somebody's texting and driving recklessly, we have provision in the code to pull them over for reckless driving, whether it's not paying attention, whether it's texting or on the phone. So there is some kind of ordinance that you could do, but it doesn't necessarily specifically call out texting. Is that true?
correct.
Careless driving.
You have your annual report here, Chief. I'm trying to recall if there was a lot of, in the summary, if there was a lot of issues relative to that.
For careless and imprudent driving?
Yes. I'm not sure. Trying to find it also.
And that's one specific charge that could be read. I mean, they could also fail to maintain their lane or make an improper turn or any number of other traffic violations while they were driving.
And to answer your question earlier, I do believe, if I remember right, on the amendment that they made on the accident reports, you can mark if it's witnessed for texting or use of cell phone or a mobile device.
But that's after the fact.
Right.
Correct.
Right, yeah, there's nothing you can do, but I mean,
We can
to
avoid it.
I think they did that to keep statistics, to help supply something for maybe bringing that into the law.
Incentive not to.
Yeah, I don't see any classification on the annual report that specifically calls out.
If you look under operate motor vehicle,
Okay,
there's a careless and imprudent involving accident.
so there's
But that
total
doesn't
of,
necessarily mean that it's
right.
on the phone or, right, Larry?
Correct.
That could be,
There's also inattentive driving, that's another category that's in here.
Yeah, so for careless and imprudent driving, there was 11 citations, and for operating a vehicle with careless and imprudence involving an accident, there was 3.
Yeah, I think if you look at careless and imprudent driving, takes two distinct driving acts to make it careless and imprudent. So you need fail to maintain a single lane and going above the speed limit. I think probably what you would see most driving effects of texting while driving is fail to maintain a single lane or fouling too close. Now, fouling too close are one of those traffic safety movements that are probably the most dangerous, but they're also one of the hardest to kind of identify.
Yeah, there was 14 following too close tickets last year. So what are other cities doing, Counselor? Are you familiar with what's going on?
There was a push in 2 cities in the St. Louis area to pass, City of St. John and City of Kirkwood, to pass a texting while driving ban. Part of the reason none of the cities have really pushed an agenda for a texting ban is because of the fact that there was a Missouri Supreme Court case about cities requiring a mandatory seatbelt, a primary seatbelt law, which the state of Missouri is not, does not have a primary seatbelt law. You can't be pulled over for not having your seatbelt on in Missouri. And the Missouri Supreme Court said, yes, a city can be more restrictive. I think that was a year ago. A city can be more restrictive and can require driving specifications that go beyond what state statute said. So I think you will start to see more cities start to adopt it. But there are some models we can look at. There's some national models that are put out there about, kind of a tiered system. Some only require, some ban the use of cell phones for people under a certain age. Some require no phone usage in school zones or work zones, and then some require no use of hands or no use of portable devices while driving. I mean, the hard thing is, we call it texting while driving, but I don't know how an officer is going to verify somebody's texting while driving. I mean, I've seen it too. Alderman Shill Harvey, I was driving home from Warrenton last time and somebody was watching a movie while they were driving, which just shocked me. But, I think you wouldn't really ban texting. You'd probably look at use of a portable device while driving, and distinguish that in the definition from using a cell phone, the traditional way on your ear. But there's models we can look at. We can do it if you guys want to do it. We can do it in a tiered system. We can do it just in school zones. It's pretty much what you guys want. And one of the suggestions I may make is that maybe the chief and I can talk about it and maybe see what his recommendation is and what he'd like to see, and maybe bring something back to you guys.
Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm just asking to have our attorney look into it and see what's out there, see if there's something we could adopt. If not, we'll leave it as is. But I think it's something we need to be proactive about and see what we can.
I agree. I agree with Mike. I think looking at some data and what we can do, and we can decide what we want to do.
Yeah, 'cause it's definitely a problem.
Anybody oppose the attorney looking into and bringing some options for the board?
Nope.
I think that's an easy way, just putting something on that. That's pretty easy. That's pretty easy. Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Terry Thorne.
The first item I have for you this evening is the accomplishment list for 2018. At this time every year we kind of recap what we have accomplished as a city for the prior year. So I'd like to just go through some of these, not all of them, the things that I think are the most extraordinary. We completed construction and opened the new West Warrenton interchange to traffic. I think there were many who for many years thought this would never happen. I was one of those, I have to admit. So very happy to say that that was accomplished. We are down to now just getting the right-of-ways turned over that are coming to the city and getting that paperwork completed, and then that project will be finished in its entirety, other than spring landscape plantings will be done when it's the appropriate time. Completed installation and the infrastructure to bring the utilities to that new interchange area. So it's ready when development comes to have the utilities be there and be able to be attached to by someone coming into the area. We completed the new 38-acre pool park and aquatic center, opened back in the fall thanks to primarily the ground and maintenance and public works departments who did phenomenal work out there, endless hours to actually get that much acreage ready. I think it was really a bigger undertaking than what we initially thought, but they managed to pull it off, and we will continue to make upgrades out there as we move forward. We submitted the application and was awarded the MoDOT cost share funding that'll pay 50% of the $1.8 million to put a sidewalk that is connected all the way from I-70 north to our north boundary at Hickory Lick Road. Much needed safety project that has been discussed for a very long time and will be moving forward. So very positive for that part of the city especially. We partnered with the Tribute to Veterans Memorial to provide assistance in completing the infrastructure out there. And that amazing project is very close to completion from what I understand. Again, one of those projects that there were many who doubted how long it would take to finally get it done. So very happy for them that that project is coming to completion. Completed the sidewalk connectivity from Main Street to Warrior on South Highway 47. This is a project we had talked about for a very long time. There were a couple of property owners that didn't really want to provide the easements, which held it up for a very long time, but actually were successful in getting that all connected, and now there is an endless sidewalk for that entire stretch of road. So very important safety issue there as well. Initiated the process for the improvement of the downtown sidewalks. We hired the engineering firm and actually saw some drawings today that Brandy and Guy had reviewed, and they are making progress on determining a way that we can actually improve that stretch of sidewalks that is in front of the old Yesterday's building and Brewski's down to the new winery. They have some really good ideas, and I think that'll be a huge improvement for downtown. You looked like you had a question, Mayor. Okay, moving
Trying to
on.
breathe through my nose, not my mouth.
Oh. There were 14 lives that were saved by our police officers with the successful deployment of the Narcan. 14 lives, that's huge, having that in our cars and our officers trained to use that. It's a very big deal. We continued the process to obtain the CALIA certification, and I just heard tonight that we are over 50% complete, not only with writing the policies, but with having those policies implemented. Next month, I believe Chief is going to do a presentation for you that sort of explains CALIA and its purpose and what benefit that brings. So will educate us on that. But very good job getting that far so quickly. We also implemented the use of body-worn cameras for our uniformed police officers. That was a big project, has proven to be very beneficial, and really has rolled out with few snags pretty successfully. So got that accomplished. Also installed mobile data terminals in our patrol vehicles and had our officers trained to use those. My understanding from them is it's extremely important tool for them on a daily basis to have at their disposal. And we've talked about that for quite some time, and finally now got it accomplished. The Police Academy sponsorship program will graduate the first recruit in March of 2019. It's the first time ever that the city has sponsored a recruit, so we're really happy that we're going to see that first officer that comes out of school join our force and be a viable member of that group. We adopted the 2015 version of the International Residential Building and Property Codes. That was a very big task and happened very smoothly. Took a long time, if you recall, that the codes had to be out there for public inspection. So it was a timely process, but is now completed. And I don't think that we've had much problem really from builders out there that I've heard much about. So handled it very well. Partnered with the Warrenton Downtown Association in obtaining the Missouri Main Street grant. That group has really taken off with the downtown revitalization, working with Missouri Main Street. They have a town hall meeting scheduled in March, which you all, I think, got the notification on, which is one of the Missouri Main Street requirements. So they're pushing forward with getting that accomplished and really starting to initiate that program. We completed 4 voluntary annexations totaling 201.48 acres, adding to our city boundaries this year. New businesses, of 11 new businesses opened, creating 103 new jobs, of which the Snooks Market was by far the largest employer out of that. I think we have a lot more that we will see coming in 2019. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about any of that.
Impressive.
You know, when you take it individually, it didn't seem, I mean, yes, the park and yes, the interchange, but all of these other things were going on at the same time that was happening. And when you finally put it all together and really look at it, it's kind of amazing how much the department heads have accomplished this year. If there's no questions, my next item is the draft of a utility trailer ordinance. We spent some time really looking at what was currently included in our code, and then what we could do based upon your discussions previously to make that into a palatable situation, both for our residents out there and something that would accomplish what it was we were trying to do. So we modeled this off of the vacation vehicle ordinance that is already in our code. The 72 hours is what is there for the parking of a vacation vehicle, and that seems to have worked very well, which would allow those who need to load trailers or unload trailers to be able to do that, making it so that an occurrence is still in place within the 72 hours, even though they might pull the trailer up or move it back or take it around the block. That's still part of that 72-hour count, and we've been able to manage that with the vacation vehicles pretty well, so I don't see an issue there. Really, the big change would be here that it would allow a utility trailer to be parked in a driveway. Our current code allows utility trailers to be parked in a side or backyard only. So if we're not going to allow them to be in the street, parked for any period of time, allowing them to park in the driveway will give those property owners who have those types of trailers the ability to get them off the street and accomplish what we set out to do. Utility trailers that are operable and possess current plates are the ones that can be parked in the driveway or the side yard. So it keeps those dilapidated vehicles that we've talked about so many times from being included in this and parked out there. So if you are good with this language, then there's two steps that we need to take. The new section would be added outside of the planning and zoning 400 section, so it doesn't require the public hearing or anything, but to make the change to the 405 section, which is in planning and zoning, we need to go through the process of, putting it in the newspaper and taking it to planning and zoning to remove that part of that utility trailer definition, and do that simultaneously with adopting this new section.
Well, my comment on this is what you just said, is this allows people to park utility trailers that are properly licensed and operable in the driveway or the side yard. But don't we have an ordinance that allows them to be parked in the back? Or in the backyard?
I don't think Chris, tell me if I'm wrong here, I don't believe that the backyard is regulated as far as requiring the license and operable.
Yes, we did have a situation where somebody had a small backyard and was basically able to fit their entire vacation recreational vehicle, not a trailer, in the backyard, but behind the house, and we did not regulate that, so we typically have never gotten very deep into the backyard as far as parking of trailers
So we're not really, if somebody has a dilapidated trailer sitting in the backyard, we really don't have anything to do with that, right?
Well, the only thing we would do is if it's visible and it's a public nuisance and it's dilapidated to the point it's beyond repair, we would address that through our code enforcement.
I mean, because my concern was if you allowed a trailer to go in that was on the side yard that was not in good shape, they move it to the back so they can move the new utility trailer in, then you're creating a problem in the backyard that if we don't have a way to regulate it, then.
Well, we would regulate that though, as we do through code enforcement for junk and solid waste, as we would a pile of any other type of thing, rather than as a trailer. I think that's what Chris is saying. We would handle it through that code enforcement end.
Well, I think your idea of adding the driveway was a good idea, because you're right, if you're going to restrict someplace, you got to give people an option. So I think that was a good add-on from my perspective.
So if everyone's good with that, then we will ask Neil to put this on for the planning and zoning change to the utility trailer definition for the April P&Z meeting. And then As soon as we get that accomplished, then we will put the other piece on for a regular board meeting for approval.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay. We will do it. We head on for the next item, deputy parking. This was a request from Sheriff Harrison to basically move their designated parking for their deputies to the side street. But we need to get some clarification on a couple of questions related to this. So Mayor would like to table this to the next meeting and make sure that when we address it, we're actually addressing what we need to be addressing.
Any issues with tabling it? Go ahead, we'll table it.
Okay? And then under operational updates, just a note, we'd had a question about being able to pay online for things at the pool, like swim lessons and that sort of thing. Brandy's been working with the company who has our software at the pool, and if it is not available currently for everything, they're working on methods, excuse me, to be able to make all those different things available online. I think it's there now, but it's very difficult and cumbersome to get to it, so we want to make it so that it's easily found and easy to understand and easy to access. I'm sorry?
A little more user-friendly.
Yes, very much so. So we're working on that, and hopefully in the near future we'll have something that's much more easily accessible than what we have right now.
Terry, did we get the lack of insulation issue taken care of at the
Aquatic Center?
aquatic center?
We're still working on it. They put in the insulation, but they thought that would fix it, but it's still kind of sweating out there. So they're working on it some more. But they are working on it. They did fill it and put in the insulation that we requested.
Do we know what the attendance is that through the winter level?
I couldn't tell you. I was explaining to the mayor, we were discussing the pool the other day. I think you have to remember that we made the decision when we opened the pool that we wanted it to be open the entire day into the evening, so that as residents learned about it and started to go, then we would be able to identify the hours that it was going to be used. So attendance is steadily growing, and they are steadily adding classes and those kinds of things. But I don't think it's a fair analysis to look at what the attendance is at the pool now compared to what it will be once we figure out the right scheme of things out there. So to answer your question, no, I have no idea what the attendance is. I don't feel like it's a good picture to look at this point. So we honestly have not paid that much attention. We're trying to get a handle on what the most hours of use are and what the classes are. They're continually adding more things so that we're trying to provide what it is the public's looking for. I think we really have to go through the fall and the summer, and then I think we'll have a much better feel as we head into next fall, really what we're looking at there. And if we want to start bringing some of the hours back to, cut costs, then I think would be the appropriate time. You will be happy to know, and I don't know if Brandy was going to talk about this or not, but she did get information back from the Silver Sneakers program last week. So that is in process to get set up. It's moving forward.
I had a few people mention to me that have attended out there, and they really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's hoops as with anything to jump through to get it done, but at least she did hear back, which is an improvement from where we were 2 weeks ago, and trying to get them to respond. So it is coming. It's just taking time.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Terry. Thanks, Terry.
Next, we'll hear from Director of Operations, Brandy Walters.
Good evening. I have my annual administration report for you guys. As you can see on there, one of our big things was we only had 6 accidents throughout the whole year, which is pretty impressive because considering 2 years ago we were at 19. So that's a huge improvement. We did do 110 interviews this last year with 23 new hires. That's only 21%, so we're kind of picky of who we hire. So we're only hiring at 21% of who we interview. We did have 293 safety talk meetings, which I think is helping for our accidents. That's really improving those. As far as on social media, we had 267 posts with 18 events, and 613 new people are liking our Facebook page. So that's pretty good for them. They're following that. We've also set up the new Warrenton Pool Facebook page, so we're getting followers on that as well to keep all of those updated. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
What are research projects? Because you got 227, which looks like you're doing 3 to 4 a week. So what does that look like?
Those are different research. Those are actually under Melody, so those are different researches that she has to do. So she may have to research some kind of an old plat or an old subdivision or something like that to find out information.
So those probably are stimulated from outside inquiries for the most part, or trying to resolve an issue that we're dealing with.
Right. Sometimes we're trying to resolve an issue and she's finding the information.
Okay.
My guess is, Melody, more of those come internally than externally.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Finance Officer Dana Belask.
Good evening. You have before you a detailed list of budget adjustments for this fiscal year, 2019 fiscal year. Total impact to the budget is an additional $591,759, of which about $398,000 are related to carryover projects. So projects that were budgeted in a prior year but weren't completed. So we're bringing these funds forward, and it's just a formality here to have you approve it in this fiscal year. And of that $398,000 for carryovers, the largest would be related to the pool park project, about $250,000 related to that one. You'll also see in that detailed list a requested change in revenues for the interchange fund. We're reducing those revenues by $44,000, and that's for a reimbursement from a property owner for the extension of the utility line near the interchange, and it actually came in at the very end of last fiscal year. So we'll reduce the budget for this year for that. There are some additional amendments to the budget on those detail sheets. Those total other amendments come to about $149,000. The majority of those have already been brought before the board at the time that a contract was signed, such as for the additional cost for the Warrior Avenue extension. So that's $134,832, and just a formal budget adjustment to go with that. You'll have several other equipment purchases, also in the area of personnel. So a few changes there. So we're going to need to move the code enforcement person from the building department to the police department. So the required budget adjustments for that. You'll also see a reduction in the building department budget for a building tech position that was not filled this year. The police chief, you'll also see a budget funds for an additional clerical position for the rest of the year. In grounds and maintenance, a change there from the seasonal additional parks personnel for the new pool park out there, from a seasonal position to a full-time position for the balance of the year. You'll also see a grounds maintenance for one of the personnel there has been promoted to a supervisor position. So again, you have before you that detail. No action required at this point. There'll be an ordinance later on tonight. But was there any questions regarding any of the items on those budget adjustment list? Nope.
No questions?
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for explaining that. Next, we'll hear from our Director of Planning and Development, Neil Fick.
Good evening. You have a copy of the annual report. I really did not have much to do with this, but I'm looking forward to make myself available to the new business owners and to the developers. So we've already got a lot coming in. Are there any questions that maybe I can help you with?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. We do have 3 new businesses, the Mick Roberts Automotive, the Villages of Warrior Ridge, and Rural King did submit their application.
That auto dealership you just mentioned, where is that?
That is right next to the K4 Fitness off of Veterans Memorial on Progress Parkway.
Gotcha.
And all three of these will be at the P and Z meeting the first Thursday of next month?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I have a question before we go too much further. As I've met with the Downtown Merchants Association, one of the issues that comes up time and again is for the events that they have planned and are upcoming. They have feedback from people that are interested in attending as to why those events are not on the city's website. And I think we have briefly touched on that maybe once before.
Many times before.
All right, can you clarify one more time?
Mostly because if we open it up to one, we have to open it up to all, and it would flood our website. There's a lot of people that want to either advertise or be able to bring things to it that their functions are doing as a business. Putting a parameter on it.
But don't we control what goes on that?
But
I don't
once you open
understand.
that up, you gotta open it up to certain areas, and putting parameters on that, you're gonna get a lot of bad feedback from people. I mean, if you have other things that contribute to that, but I know that was one of the bigger factors. of
So
why.
we have very specific rules and very specific accessibility for certain open public forums. Because if we open a public forum up to, and we've talked about this with the website time and time again, when we did the rework of it, is it was decided at that point in time that we wanted to keep it as a city forum and not a public forum. Because if you allow one group to put it on, the KKK or somebody else has to have equal access under the First Amendment. So, for example, the sign out front has been limited to only City of Warrenton and public safety issues. The TV access has been allowed to be pretty much any group. It's been an open forum. It's traditionally been to meet certain parameters and requirements. So the only thing I caution you guys, because of our past discussions, is there's been a lot of time and thought into what we allow on specific things. And that's the unfortunate part. You want to do the good things, but, under, equal protection and the First Amendment, if you allow one group access to it, you have to allow them all. And so the management of that can be somewhat of a nightmare. So we've always kind of asked the board to keep limited forums for certain things, and obviously public forums for other things that are easily available, and can be used by everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Neil, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's all I have. Then the boundary adjustment.
Did we discuss that? Did anybody discuss the boundary adjustment that's coming up on the bill later?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. All right, next we'll hear from Maintenance and Grounds Director Brad Boozy Cruz.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my annual report. Excuse me. Just a couple of highlights of this. The maintenance and mowing was 48% of the time, the grounds and maintenance department. That was, and then the cleaning the parks was 11% of the time we spent, and tree cleanup was 10%. So just kind of see where our time is going there. Is maintenance and mowing is a majority of it.
Any questions on the report?
Next I have is the general plumber bid tabs. We had two people who bid on that. Hageman Plumbing and Michelson Plumbing. My recommendation is to go with Michelson Plumbing.
Any questions for him on that? I'll entertain a motion to award the general plumber bid to Michelson Plumbing, the best bid.
So moved.
Two of you did it at the same time. Who's wanting to take first? Miller, Alderman Miller first. Alderman Shaw seconded it. Roll call vote.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent.
Next I have is the portable toilet unit bid tabs. We had three bidders on this. I'd like to go with O'Fallon Sewer. And this takes care of some of our parks and the Fall Festival.
Any questions on that?
This is the same ones, Dave, that's who we've had.
Yeah,
in the past.
they've been doing with
They've
us
been
for, I'd say, 5-6 years
Pretty
now.
good.
Pretty good, right?
I'll entertain a motion to award the portable toilet bid to O'Fallon Sewer Services in the amount of $3,450 as a low bid.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent.
Next I have is the, just kind of let you know what the park board is doing this year for Arbor Day. This year decided to go with a poster contest at the third grade students from the Warren County R3 schools. I think they said there are 3 different third grades, which I wasn't unaware of. But anyway, so what we're going to do this year is the posters are due back on the 5th of April. We'll judge the winners. We will pick one winner from each of the schools, and what we're going to do is plant a tree at Dyer Park with all 3 of their names on a plaque, and we'll give that plaque to them, or show them present the plaque to them on the April 16th board meeting, because Arbor Day is April the 26th. So we want to have that done. We kind of do a little something different this year for it. Kind of try to get them in with the, everybody kind of involved in it. Thought this would be maybe a good way to do it, and maybe give us some more ideas for next year.
I think it's great. I think the presentation's awesome. My, how times have changed with 3 third grades, huh?
Yeah.
Any questions? Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Public Works Director Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. The first item I got is you asked me to come back with the mileage of the streets, and we got around 80 miles of city streets. The water production for the year was 317 million gallons of water, which is about 24% of what we can use, what we have, our capability. And we're at like 21% usage of last year, which is about an increase of 55 million gallons.
So did you just say that we're using 24 or 25% of our capacity, or what we could produce?
We're at 24% of what our capacity is.
Yeah, because my question was, with that big of a jump, do we have to look at capacity issues? But it doesn't sound like that's.
We had a plan with the a water engineering, and they get it laid out on what we would need at a certain period of time, and we were looking at that, and they pretty much nailed it right on the money of where we would be at this time of year, at this time of the year. It was an increase of 55 million gallons, but we also changed out 112 water meters, and a couple of them water meters were big water meters. We had a 10-inch we changed out at Coke, so we're going to get a better accurate reading of what we're really producing, because we had more, I think, the big 10-inch coat, and then the one at the county building is created more accurate reading of what we had. In our plan for the future, it is laid out what we need to increase.
And part of this, I guess, if I recall, in the summer, we had some major issues of leaks.
Yeah, we had a couple big leaks that we were in culvert pipes that we didn't know. And then one leaking on the side, running down the highway that nobody's seen till everything dried up, and it was the only green spot in the whole city.
I think, Alderman Ock, one of the things to think about with water particularly is we're surrounded by water districts.
Right.
So annexation any further than what we are, although it may come into the city, the chances are that the water's going to be provided by someone other than the city of Warrenton.
You'd have to have a significant increase in demand use within city limits.
Right.
Because it sounds like to me, they projected out a certain growth level, and we're way down on this chart, and chances are we won't get very high up unless we get a business that's a particular high user in city limits.
Correct. And
Which
being
could which might happen, well, it's not gonna happen if we go industrial on the north side, because that's already in the Montgomery Water District, right?
there could be the potential, if some industrial business that's an extremely high water user would come there, that we would enter into a bulk sale agreement like we did with sewer if we needed to supplement what they had. So there is some potential, but given that, you know, our boundaries expanding for anything residential is probably going to be provided by someone other than us,
Right.
it appears we're in really good shape.
I guess the only other area would be over by CEF with
Mhm.
that redevelopment of that. If there was a high user coming in, you might have an issue there, but if you're so far under your capacity, you can't envision something problematic.
No, not anywhere in the foreseeable future,
Right.
anyway.
Questions? All right. Before we get to you, Mike, we're gonna go back to Neil real quick.
And I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
We had an application for subdivision boundary adjustment for Lot 4A and Lot 5A for the Morrissey Meyer Coaling addition. And this is from Gray Timberwolf. Mr. Bart?
All right, I had to wait for my cue. All right. For the record, I'm Bart Foreman with Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers. I have in the back there Clifton Wolf with Gray Timberwolf LLC. Present to you a small boundary adjustment plat on Southside Street there. Taking 4 lots and basically making it 2. And 70 foot wide on the one and 154.59 on the other. Meeting the minimum lot size for square footages, and I'll answer any questions that anybody may have.
Whenever you go from small lots to big lots, it's something you don't want to, that's great, because you probably have nicer, bigger homes going in, which.
Right, yeah, and the lots were 50 foot basically prior to early on, years ago when it was platted. You know, now with this zoning, you got a 70 foot minimum requirement. So we're drawing that up to meet that. And so yeah, we're trying to bring it up to code and be able to put 2 structures on that tract grant.
I don't believe we have any questions. It's kind of a good thing.
Then you go back to Jeff City, right?
No, I'm not going to Jeff City at all. Do we have to have a motion?
No, there's
There's
an
a bill
ordinance.
later on.
All right.
Bart, we know how to run our.
Just totally get skipped again.
We can figure out how to pass it. I know you're not.
I know you're eager to say there's a motion on the floor, but we got this. Actually, you're probably eager never to say anything like that again.
For a while.
Yeah, give it a little rest, right?
Yep.
A little vacation from it. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Building Commissioner Mike Cross.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. You have my annual report. like to touch on a few highlights. There was a question at the last board meeting about handicap buildings at the Orange Blossom. I did confirm they're going to have 7 total handicap units there. Not sure what location they're going to be. That's going to depend on engineering and the level of land. Also, I'd like to mention that we did 22 permits in 2017 for building, residential and commercial. In 2018, we did a 62 total, 181% increase in that area. Along with that, the building department conducted 1,509 commercial and residential new construction inspections. In addition to that, another 564 inspections on decks, fences, land disturbance, and assorted remodels on residential. So we were pretty busy last year. On the code enforcement side, about 44% of all the code enforcement that we applied was for trash in the city. 25% of that was for weeds, and about 17% of that was for vehicles, unlicensed. So about 86% of all of our violations are complete now.
It would be interesting, I don't know if the paper would do this, if we could take some of these and put them in some kind of pie chart or something that's very visual. Because when you talk about enforcement, you tend to think of, well, they're going around hitting on houses or whatever, but when you see a pie chart and the biggest chunk is trash or something, it really gives a message, I think, to the reader that you don't necessarily get with the numbers.
All right.
I don't know if the paper would run something like that, but I think it'd be interesting as a presentation.
We could put something in the spring newsletter,
Yeah, I
since
think that'd be
the
great.
weed growing season will be forthcoming.
Right.
Yes.
The weed growing season, wow, that's a loaded statement.
Well, but I mean, I think it's good
We need
information for the public to
And
know.
the good thing is, it kind of feeds into the chief of police when you say it's the weed growing season.
Depends on what kind of weed you're talking about.
I'm just saying.
So just to further let you know that we've had already this year 7 residential permits have been issued, 1 commercial permit, and 2 for multifamily.
So how many projects are going on currently, you think?
Well, we've got Orange Blossom,
Right.
that's going on. We have Warrior Ridge, that's going on. There's actually another builder that's inquiring about buying 60 lots there.
Wow.
We have another builder in there, actually 2 other builders in Warrior Ridge. We have Mr. Yeager in Forest Ridge. And we still have had, all the infrastructure is done back on Walnut Hollow, but we haven't had anybody start to build back there yet. So it looks very promising for this year coming up.
Pave the road and they'll come.
There you go. That's what we're hoping for. That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll hear from Chief of Police Larry Eller.
Good evening. I've attached my yearly report for 2018. A couple of quick highlights. The Criminal Investigation Division was assigned 117 cases. Out of those 117, they solved 89 for a solve rate of 76%. And out of those solved, 44 of those went to the PA for charges. So that's solid work on their part. And then along the lines of the weed growing season, in 2018, we issued 148 summons for misdemeanor drugs or drug paraphernalia. So the guys are out there doing their self-initiated activity.
Good work. Any questions on the annual report?
Yeah, I think this again would be something if we could figure out, put together some graphics for the newsletter. I think this would be pretty meaningful to people who read the newsletter, because there's a lot of numbers here, but the chart presentation would really tell a story. You like pie chart?
Yep.
I like pie, but also.
The only other item I have for you is the approval of training and career development policy. It's pretty self-explanatory. It covers training from top to bottom, as well as the officer's career development. And that knocks out, I think, 11 standards for COLIA.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the following training and career development policy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Shelby, second by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 with one absent.
Okay, go back and ask you one question. So it says here, operating a vehicle without maintaining financial responsibility, you talk about insurance.
Correct.
So there's 240 incidents of people driving without insurance. Gotcha.
Yes, sir. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Next will be bills to ordinance. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 02-19.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Shelby.
An ordinance amending the budget of the city of Warrenton, Missouri for fiscal year 2018-2019.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 02-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance amending the budget of the city of Warrenton, Missouri for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 03-19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Shelby.
An ordinance accepting the boundary adjustment for Lot 4A and 5A, Morrissey Meyer Cooling Edition, located at 110 Southside Avenue by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 03-19.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Shelby, seconded by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance accepting the boundary adjustment for Lot 4A and 5A, Morrissey Meyer Cooling Edition, located at 110 Southside Avenue by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz?
Yes.
Alderman Shell Harvey?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Bill passes 5-0 with one absent. I believe bill number 04-19 has been tabled, so we will not be addressing that tonight. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for the close of the regular Board of Alderman meeting.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Shelby. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is the majority. We are so adjourned, folks. Thank you. Get home safely, please.